Hey guys, so my name is Kyle Mulholland and I'm a third year mechanical engineering student at Georgia Tech. And this summer I'm working on completing an industrial design minor. So this presentation focuses on the role of phone numbers in modern society, and it's summarizing a case study I did that examined the need for phone numbers to the typical user. So the approach I'm taking for this project is to first understand the problem clearly, then do some research on this problem, do analysis on that research, develop insights from the analysis, and finally propose solution opportunities. So first, looking at the understanding of the problem, the domain is a telecom company hypothesized that all smartphone users will abandon their phone number within the next 5 years, and we're being asked to define the user needs surrounding phone numbers and user dependencies. So the target group I chose to look at was people that utilize both landlines and mobile phones. And the reason I chose this was because I felt like switching to a system that does not rely on phone numbers would have the biggest impact on this group of people. And I developed two personas that fall into this persona subset of both having landlines and mobile phones. The first being Joe Edwards, who does not use his landline much, mainly relies on his mobile phone, and values mobility, convenience, and versatility in his phone. And then Julia, who actually uses her landline and mobile phone pretty evenly, and values multitasking, ease of use, and battery life in her phone. So now looking at research, I did a literature review to develop some background knowledge. The first source I looked at was a CDC report that showed that more than half of American homes only had mobile phones. Then I also looked at a study by Ofcom that showed that older customers actually value phone numbers more than younger customers. I also did some observations for this research, and the main takeaways for that were that people were very frustrated with robocalls and spam calls, and especially with landline users. I actually had a user that did not answer any landline calls because they just assumed that it was going to be a robocall, so this is a very big issue. I also conducted some interviews, and the main pain points from these were that sometimes people forget to save contact info, which leads to them having to use the phone number to identify people. They also got very annoyed with the robocalls and spam calls, and they were concerned over the security of third-party apps. Lastly, I did a survey that gathered even more data from my large corpus of data. And from the survey, I found that people rarely use third-party apps to communicate. The main method to call people was to look up that contact in the Contacts app, and people could not easily contact each other without their phone number. And this survey was specifically targeted at people who had both the landline and mobile phone. Now looking at the analysis of the research. So I first collected all of the important quotes from the interviews and the interactions during the observations, and then I organized them into a quote-based affinity map, and this map categorized them into the description of the phone use and whether it was a positive or negative experience. And so looking specifically at the negative experiences, I categorized these into forgetfulness, unwanted or insecure calls or texts, and unwanted disturbances. And then from these three general categories of problems, I prioritize them on a 2x2 prioritization matrix. The first being a matrix that studies the relationship between how closely related the problem is to phone numbers and user pain, and then one that looks at user pain versus how easily it is correctable in the potential solution. And you can see from both of these prioritization matrices that the problem of receiving too many unwanted calls and texts is the problem that should be focused on most in the design. Now looking at the insights I gained from this analysis, phone-based communication in its current state is highly dependent on phone numbers, but implementation of a new number-independent system could address significant user pain points and would help to establish a more positive experience. So basically, the phone-based communication system is so heavily dependent on phone numbers right now that it may be hard to implement a new system, but the new system could lead to improvements in user experience. And then I wrote an insight statement loosely structured around the three-sentence structure of insights. And so that reads, I use mobile and landline phones extensively for communication with my family, friends, and work colleagues. It seems like more and more now I get spam calls that do not register with my caller ID system, so all I have to identify them with is the phone number. Often I will pick up the phone because it could be an important work call, but it ends up just being spam. I wish there was a way of preventing these spam calls or at least identifying them better so I know if it's an important call or not. And so from these insights, I developed solution opportunities. And the main opportunity is a secure and easy to understand profile-based phone communication system. And so one idea of this would be this EasyTalk app that I developed. And this is just a low fidelity prototype of the interface, but it features an all-in-one communication-based app. Users can search basically any names in this "who are you trying to contact" box here, and the app will search all social media platforms to find profiles of people who match the name that you typed in, and then give you an image and a little description about them. And that does it. Thank you.